Maybe your partner has been pulling away lately. They're less present, less warm, plans fall through, messages take longer, and when you ask what's going on, they don't really have an answer. So you try harder, you research, you bring things up. You say, I think you might have an avoidant attachment style, or you try to help whichever way you can. But it doesn't really do anything. Your partner continues to be distant, checked out, or even starts getting defensive. And then one day they say it. Maybe it's, I need to work on myself, or I'm too broken to be in a relationship. And it hits you like a door slamming shut. What does that even mean? Are they ending things? Are they asking for space? Are they just giving up? The first one, especially, can be confusing. I need to work on myself sounds almost reasonable, almost healthy, like something a therapist would recommend. But when it's coming from someone who has been pulling away from you, it feels like an exit dressed up as self awareness. In this video, I want to talk about what's really happening when an avoidant says this, why the way most people respond actually makes things worse, and what to do instead. This is actually the first video in a two-part series. The second one is called I Can't Give You What You Need, and it covers what happens when this dynamic goes even further. It will come out next week, so subscribe if you want to see it in your feed. Hi guys, I'm Carolina. I'm an attachment coach, and I ran this channel together with my formerly avoidant husband, Gabriel. And yes, I've been exactly where you are right now. More on that in a moment. Let's first address the dreaded avoidant pull away. It usually doesn't start with a dramatic moment. It happens quietly and gradually. Your partner becomes a little harder to reach, a little less enthusiastic. Where they used to initiate, now you're the one always reaching out more. Things that used to feel easy start causing some strange tension between the two of you. And you notice, of course, you notice. So you ask gently at first, is everything okay? You seem a bit off lately. And they say something like, I'm fine, just stressed. Or they don't say much at all. Here's what's important to understand about this stage. Your partner is not pulling away because they don't care. Most likely, they're overwhelmed, they're stressed, confused, and not yet able to put words to what they're feeling. They're still showing up to conversations with you. They haven't left. That matters. This is what I'd call the ambivalent stage. They're halfway there and halfway not. And this is where us, anxious leaning people, mess things up by assuming the caretaker role. When the person you love starts struggling, it's natural to want to help. And if you have anxious attachment, it goes even further than that. For a lot of anxious people, myself included, helping isn't just an impulse, it's almost an identity. You're the one who sees people clearly. You're the one who holds things together. You're good at reading people, at understanding what's going on beneath the surface. And so, when your partner starts pulling away, you do what you do. You focus on them. You research their patterns. You notice the avoidant behavior and you name it. You send them articles or you say things like, I'm there for you. You can always talk to me. You push gently but persistently for them to understand themselves better. And this comes from a real place of love. I know it does because I've done all of it. But here's what I didn't see at the time. While I was completely focused on Gabriel, on what was going on with him, on what he needed to work on, I wasn't looking at myself at all. The caretaker role felt like love, but it was also a hiding place. As long as I was busy trying to fix him, I didn't have to sit with my own fears, my own questions about whether I was lovable, whether I was enough, whether I was the problem too. So the pushing continues. And every time you name a pattern, every time you check in with them, every time you say, are you okay? Something happens on the other side. Your partner hears one thing over and over. You are the problem in this relationship. Maybe you don't mean it that way. You almost certainly don't. But that's how it feels. So they start defending themselves, either by going quiet or by agreeing with you on the surface, but retreating further inside. The more you push, the more they shrink. And the more they shrink, the more anxious you get. And the more anxious you get, the more you push. And then it comes. Most likely, they'll say, I need to work on myself, or I need some space to figure things out. And if things have gone on long enough, something even harder to hear. I'm too broken to be in a relationship. I want you to hear what's actually happening in these moments. This is not self awareness. This is not an exit strategy either. This is someone who has been treated like a problem to be solved for long enough that they've started to believe it. And there's more to it. Most likely, you're not the only person relating to them this way. They might have a predisposition to think of themselves this way because of treatment they experienced in their past. Nevertheless, by now, they fully absorbed this message. They've started to see themselves through your eyes or what they imagine your eyes to see. A person with issues, a person who keeps getting it wrong, a person who maybe needs to work on themselves before they can be with anyone at all. They're still saying it to you. They haven't disappeared. They haven't blocked your number. That sentence, as painful as it is to hear, is still a bid for connection. It's a cry for help, not a conclusion. There is a story we tell ourselves in conscious, emotionally aware relationships. And it goes like this: the loving thing to do is to push your partner toward growth, to gently guide them and not let them off the hook. It sounds right. It sounds mature, like exactly what a healthy relationship should look like. But it has a cost that nobody talks about. The moment you start consistently analyzing your partner, pointing out their patterns, positioning yourself as the one who understands what's really going on, you stop being their partner, you become their therapist. And nobody feels safe being loved by their therapist. Every observation, however accurate, sends the same signal: I am above you in this. I can see you, but you cannot see yourself. It creates distance and hierarchy. And then there's the harder thing to admit, the thing I had to admit about myself. The analyzing wasn't only about Gabriel, it was also about me. Because as long as I was focused entirely on his avoidant patterns, I didn't have to look at my own anxious ones. I didn't have to ask myself why I needed to fix people to feel valuable, why I couldn't just sit with discomfort, why I was so afraid of the relationship failing that I'd rather turn it into a project than risk just being in it. The therapizing was as much about my attachment wound as it was about his. And it wasn't helpful at all. It only made things worse for both of us. So, what do you actually do when your partner says they need to work on themselves or that they're too broken to be in a relationship? You stop obsessing over all the ways in which they are broken. Stop overanalyzing every move they make, every message they send or not send, and start looking in the mirror. Because in order to be able to help them, you need to admit something about yourself: that you are broken too. You have issues. You overthink, you overreact, you can't let things go. You can be needy at times, dismissive other times. Everybody is this way. We're all human. We have flaws. If you want your avoidant partner to stop pulling away, you need to stop making them feel more and more broken and start making them feel less broken instead. How do you make someone feel less broken? You do it by relating to their problems and complaints. When an avoidant says, I need to work on myself, you say, I know what you mean. I feel that way too sometimes. There are parts of me I haven't figured out at all, and I'm not sure I ever will. When they say, I'm too broken to be in a relationship, you say, I feel this way too. I know I can be a handful at times. I'm working on it, but sometimes I worry it's not something I'll ever be able to fix. Admitting to having flaws is scary, it's vulnerable. But your partner knows all these things about you anyway. They sense your insecurity, they know when you panic. They also know you're not perfect. You might think you're being so sneaky, but they can see right through you. Coming clean about these things is not going to make them love you less. On the contrary, it's going to make them love you more. When I eventually stopped analyzing Gabriel and started being honest about my own fears, about how scared I was, about how I also didn't always know what I was doing, about the ways I was also avoiding things, something shifted. Instead of growing apart, we started growing closer because I'd step off the therapist chair and sat down next to him. That's the move, not fixing them, not backing off entirely, just changing your position from the person who has clarity about what they need to work on to the person who's equally lost and scared. This mindset shift is the beginning, not the solution. Changing a long standing dynamic in a relationship, especially an anxious avoidant one, takes time and consistency. If you want a step by step process for actually doing this, for learning how to shift out of the caretaker pattern, rebuild safety with an avoidant partner, and create the closeness you've been looking for, that's exactly what we cover in our Attach and Avoidant program. The link to find out more is in the description. And if you want to understand what happens when this pattern doesn't get addressed, when the pushing continues and the avoidant goes from ambivalent to cold to completely shut down, that's the second video in this series. I'll be honest with you. I know that story from the inside. I was the one doing the pushing, and I watched Gabriel go from halfway there to completely gone. Not because he didn't care, because I kept making him feel like he was the problem. The second video is called I Can't Give You What You Need, Why Avoidants Say This and What to Do About It. Here I give you a very hands-on, almost instant fix to this problem. That's fairly easy to implement, but very hard to accept. It's coming out in a week. Once it's ready, I'll link it right here.